You invited them into your living room every single week. For years. They were part of your family. You watched them laugh together, support each other through storylines, and create chemistry that felt absolutely genuine. The networks built their Nielsen ratings on that chemistry. The sponsors paid millions because you believed these people actually liked each other. But what if I told you that behind the laugh track and between scenes, some of these beloved television families were anything but? What if the people playing your favorite characters couldn't stand each other? These are 20 sitcom casts where the on-screen warmth masked serious backstage animosity. The cast members who smiled at each other for 10 years while secretly hating every minute of it. 1. Suzanne Somers vs. The cast of Three's Company. Suzanne Somers played Chrissy Snow on Three's Company, which ran from 1977 to 1984. She was the lovable, ditzy blonde that American audiences adored. The chemistry between Somers, John Ritter, and Joyce DeWitt seemed effortless. They played roommates sharing an apartment, and viewers believed they were genuinely close. But in reality, Somers was increasingly isolated on set. By 1980, when Somers demanded equal pay to her male co-stars, the entire cast and network turned against her. DeWitt and Ritter did not support her publicly. The studio blacklisted her. The warmth you saw on screen, the genuine laughter, the physical comedy, the obvious affection between the three leads was completely fabricated. When Somers tried to reconcile years later, DeWitt refused. The easy friendship viewers believed in had never existed. Behind every scene where they hugged or laughed together, there was real anger and resentment that the cameras never captured. 2. Shelley Long vs. The cast of Cheers. Shelley Long played Diane Chambers on Cheers, which aired from 1982 to 1993. She was the elegant, neurotic waitress that made the show work in its early seasons. The banter between Long and Ted Danson was electric. The audience at home believed they were witnessing genuine chemistry between two actors who truly enjoyed working together. What they didn't see was the growing tension backstage. Long felt undervalued and underpaid compared to Danson. She believed the writers favored him. The supporting cast grew tired of what they perceived as her difficult behavior. Danson and the producers sided against her. When Long eventually left the show in 1987, there was no warmth in the goodbye. The sparkling dialogue and the obvious rapport between the characters masked real professional hostility. Every flirtatious scene, every moment where Diane and Sam connected was performed by two actors who resented each other off camera. The audience never suspected. 3. Suzanne Pleshette versus the cast of The Bob Newhart Show. Suzanne Pleshette played Emily Hartley on The Bob Newhart Show, which ran from 1972 to 1978. She was Bob's wife, the patient, intelligent woman who balanced his neurotic energy. The marriage was portrayed as genuine and warm. Their chemistry was one of television's great on-screen partnerships. Viewers believed in their love. But Pleshette and Newhart had constant friction on set. Newhart was controlling about how scenes were played. Pleshette felt her character was being written smaller as the seasons progressed. She resented the dynamic between herself and Newhart. The ease and affection you watched every week was a performance. Behind the scenes, they barely spoke unless the script required it. When the show ended, there was no emotional goodbye between them. The partnership that seemed so natural, so obviously built on mutual respect and affection, was actually a professional relationship strained by resentment and creative disagreements that never made it on air. 4. The cast of Happy Days versus The Other. Happy Days aired from 1974 to 1984 and became an American institution. Henry Winkler played the Fonz, and the show revolved around him. Ron Howard and Anson Williams played his best friends. The three of them, plus the rest of the ensemble, seemed like a genuine group of young people who actually cared about each other. What happened backstage was very different. Henry Winkler's role became increasingly dominant as the show went on. He began to overshadow Howard and Williams in both screen time and billing. Howard and Williams grew resentful. The supporting cast felt invisible. By the 1980s, the set was divided. Winkler kept to himself. Howard and Williams barely acknowledged him between scenes. The brotherhood you watched every Tuesday night, the loyalty, the genuine affection between the characters was completely manufactured. When the show ended, the cast did not stay in touch. The famous friendship was never really there. 5. Roseanne Barr vs. The cast of Roseanne ran from 1988 to 1997 and made Roseanne Barr one of the most powerful women in television. She played the matriarch of a working-class family surrounded by actors playing her husband and children. The family seemed warm, real, and genuinely connected. Barr was known for being difficult to work with. She had conflicts with John Goodman, who played her husband. She fought with the writers constantly. She refused to take direction from producers. She was often hostile to her co-stars. The family togetherness that viewers felt was undermined by backstage animosity. Goodman spent years trying to navigate her moods. The child actors on the show felt uncomfortable around her. By the later seasons, the set was tense and unhappy. The genuine-seeming family meals, the real-seeming arguments, the obvious love between family members, all of it was acted out by people who did not actually like each other. Barr controlled the set through fear, not camaraderie. 6. Ted Danson vs. Kelsey Grammer. Later year. Kelsey Grammer joined Cheers in 1984 as Frasier Crane. By the late 1980s and into the 1990s, Frasier had become a major character. Grammer's portrayal was brilliant. The chemistry between Danson and Grammer appeared effortless and genuine. They played the bar owner and the nouveau riche psychiatrist in a perfect comedic partnership. Audiences believed they genuinely enjoyed each other's company on set. The reality was very different. Danson resented Grammer's rising popularity. Grammer felt Danson was threatened by his success. They had competing egos. They disagreed about how their scenes should be played. By the time Grammer's own show, Frasier, was being developed, the tension between them was palpable on set. Neither wanted to appear in the other's crossover episodes. The banter you watched was two actors who had learned to deliver perfect comedy while actively disliking each other. When Cheers ended in 1993, Danson and Grammer did not see each other outside of required appearances. 7. The cast of All in the Family aired from 1971 to 1979 and tackled controversial social issues. Carol O'Connor played Archie Bunker, and the cast around him, Jean Stapleton as Edith, Rob Reiner as Michael, seemed committed to the show's message and to each other. There was genuine warmth between the cast members. What viewers didn't know was the creative tension behind the scenes. Norman Lear, the show's creator, was demanding and controlling. O'Connor often disagreed with how Archie was being written. He felt the character was becoming a caricature rather than a complex person. Rob Reiner and O'Connor had different visions for their characters' relationship. The family dinners that seemed so emotionally real, the arguments that seemed so genuine, were performed by actors who had real disagreements about the material and the show's direction. The love you felt was directed at the characters, not at the actors playing them. 8. Alan Alda vs. cast members of MASH ran from 1972 to 1983 and became one of America's most beloved shows. Alan Alda played Hawkeye Pierce, and his character was the heart of the show. The ensemble seemed to genuinely care about each other. The camaraderie felt real. The audience believed these actors were friends. Alda was a controlling presence on set. As he gained power, he began directing scenes and making creative decisions. Jamie Farr, who played Klinger, felt increasingly sidelined. David Morgan and William Christopher had creative disagreements with Alda. By the later seasons, the set was divided into camps: Alda's group and everyone else. The funny, touching moments of friendship and loyalty between the characters, the moments that made viewers cry, were performed by actors who had real animosity behind the scenes. When MASH ended, some cast members did not attend the final episode's tapings. The family you believed in existed only on camera. 9. Lucille Ball vs. cast of I Love Lucy, I Love Lucy aired from 1951 to 1957 and was the most popular show in America. Lucille Ball was the star, and her real-life husband Desi Arnaz played her husband Ricky. The chemistry between them seemed effortless and genuine. Audiences felt like they were watching real love and partnership. The supporting cast, Vivian Vance and William Frawley as the neighbors, seemed like genuine friends. Behind the scenes, the show was a pressure cooker. Ball was controlling and demanding. She ran the show with an iron fist. Arnaz was unfaithful and dismissive. Vance and Frawley had constant friction. Frawley resented being a supporting player. Vance felt disrespected. The warm family moments, the genuine seeming affection, the obvious love between all four characters, all of it masked real unhappiness and conflict. Ball and Arnaz's marriage was falling apart even as they pretended to be the perfect couple. Vance and Frawley could barely tolerate each other. The show was a hit because the audience never knew the truth. 10. The cast of Different Strokes aired from 1978 to 1986 and was built on the premise of an interracial family. Gary Coleman played the beloved adopted son. Todd Bridges played his brother. Conrad Bain played the father. Nancy Walker played the grandmother. The family seemed genuinely warm and connected. Audiences believed in their love. Behind the scenes, the dynamics were painful. Coleman and Bridges, both child stars, struggled with the pressures of the show. Bain was dismissive of their concerns. The adults on set treated them professionally, but not warmly. Coleman felt isolated and not genuinely accepted. Bridges resented the racial dynamics of the show. Walker was kind, but distant. By the later seasons, the set was unhappy. The family warmth you watched was a performance. The genuine love between family members was an act. When the show ended, Coleman and Bridges did not maintain relationships with Bain or Walker. The adoption narrative that seemed so touching, so obviously based on real family love, was actually a show about actors who did not genuinely like each other pretending to be a family. Which of these cast feuds surprised you most? Did you watch any of these shows and have no idea about the backstage conflict? Tell us in the comments which on-screen friendship you thought was genuine. If you want more deep dives into the hidden truth behind the shows you loved, subscribe to this channel. 11. Will Smith vs. James Avery, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air aired from 1990 to 1996. Will Smith played a young version of himself sent to live with his wealthy uncle in Los Angeles. James Avery played Uncle Phil, the stern but loving father figure. The relationship between them was the emotional core of the show. Smith's character needed Avery's guidance, and Avery provided it with obvious warmth. Audiences felt genuine affection between them. The reality was complicated. Smith was a young star establishing himself. Avery was an older, established actor. They had creative disagreements. Avery felt Smith was too loose with the dialogue. Smith felt Avery was too rigid. By the later seasons, they had reached a detente but not genuine friendship. The emotional scenes where Uncle Phil taught Will important lessons, where they clearly cared about each other, these were performed by two actors who had learned to work together professionally but not become friends. When Avery died in 2013, Smith's tribute was appropriate but not deeply personal. The father-son relationship that made the show work was a construct, not a genuine bond. 12. The cast of Growing Pains aired from 1985 to 1992. Michael J. Fox played the youngest son, and Kirk Cameron played the oldest. The family seemed genuinely warm and connected. Michael J. Fox was a huge movie star at the time, and the show built storylines around both brothers. The chemistry between them and their parents seemed authentic. Behind the scenes, tension simmered. Cameron resented that Fox was becoming more famous. Fox felt the show was limiting his film career. Their parents on the show, Alan Thicke and Joanna Kearns, were professional but not particularly warm to either of them. By the later seasons, the set was tense. The family dinners, the heartfelt conversations about growing up, the obvious love between family members, all of it was performed by actors who had real animosity. Fox was eager to move on to films. Cameron felt betrayed by Fox's ambition. When the show ended, they did not stay close. The family you believed in was a construction created by writers and producers, not by genuine family connection. 13. The cast of The Odd Couple aired from 1970 to 1975. Tony Randall played the fastidious Felix Unger. Jack Klugman played the slovenly Oscar Madison. They were roommates, and their chemistry was the entire show. The comedy came from their obvious affection for each other despite their differences. Audiences believed they genuinely cared about each other. The reality was that Randall and Klugman actually hated each other. They had different acting styles. Randall was theatrical and precise. Klugman was loose and improvisational. Randall felt Klugman was undisciplined. Klugman felt Randall was pretentious. They had screaming matches off camera. They refused to socialize together. By the later seasons, they could barely stand being near each other. The emotional moments where Felix and Oscar clearly loved each other despite their arguments, these were performed by two actors who had genuine disdain for each other. Every hug, every moment of affection was fake. When the show ended, Randall and Klugman did not speak. They had spent years playing best friends while actually being bitter enemies. 14. The cast of Family Ties aired from 1982 to 1989. Michael J. Fox played the conservative son in a liberal family. The show was built on the comedy of political disagreement and family love. The family seemed genuinely warm and connected. The parents, Michael Gross and Meredith Baxter, seemed to genuinely enjoy their on-screen children. Michael J. Fox was becoming a movie star during the show's run. This created tensions on set. Fox was often late to tapings because of his film commitments. The other cast members resented feeling less important. Baxter had personal struggles that made her distant. Gross was professional, but not warm. By the later seasons, the set was tense. The family dinners, the arguments that resolved with love, the obvious affection between parents and children, all of it was performed by people who did not genuinely like each other off camera. Fox was already mentally preparing to leave. The supporting actors felt abandoned. When the show ended, the cast did not stay in touch. The family warmth was a performance. 15. The cast of Night Court aired from 1984 to 1992. The show was an ensemble comedy set in a courtroom. The judge, the clerk, the public defender, the prosecutor, they all seemed like friends who genuinely enjoyed working together. The banter felt natural. The camaraderie felt real. Behind the scenes, the ensemble had internal conflicts. Harry Anderson, who played the judge, was controlling about how his character was portrayed. He had conflicts with some of the supporting cast. Marky Post, who joined later, felt like an outsider trying to break into an established group. The writer's room was contentious. The network wanted broader comedy. The actors wanted more heart. By the later seasons, the set was divided. The funny, touching moments between characters who seemed like genuine friends were performed by actors who had real disagreements about the show's direction. When Night Court ended, the cast did not stay close. The workplace friendship that seemed to bond them together was actually a professional arrangement that masked real tension. 16. The cast of Taxi aired from 1978 to 1982 and was beloved for its ensemble cast. The taxi drivers seemed like genuine friends who spent their days together at the garage. The chemistry was electric. Audiences felt like they were watching real people with real friendships. Behind the scenes, the cast had significant conflicts. Tony Danza and Judd Hirsch had creative disagreements. Carol Kane was struggling with her role. Andy Kaufman's unpredictability made others uncomfortable. By the later seasons, the set was tense. The camaraderie you watched every week was a performance. The moments where the drivers supported each other, celebrated victories together, mourned losses together, all of it was acted out by people who did not genuinely care for each other off camera. When Taxi ended, the cast did not remain close. The friendship was a construction, not a reality. 17. The cast of The Mary Tyler Moore Show. The Mary Tyler Moore Show aired from 1970 to 1977 and is considered one of the greatest sitcoms ever made. Mary Tyler Moore played an independent single woman working in a television newsroom. The cast around her, Ed Asner, Ted Knight, Gavin MacLeod, and others, seemed like a genuine work family. The chemistry seemed effortless. Audiences believed these people genuinely cared about each other. Behind the scenes, there were tensions. Moore was professional but somewhat aloof. Asner and Moore had creative disagreements about their characters' relationship. Ted Knight felt underutilized in earlier seasons. Gavin MacLeod had concerns about being typecast. By the later seasons, the set was more collegial, but it had not started that way. The tender moments between Mary and her co-workers, the obvious affection, the genuine work family feeling, all of it was performed by actors who had to learn to work together professionally. When the show ended, the cast did not immediately remain close. The workplace family was a construction created through years of professional effort. 18. The cast of Golden Girls. The Golden Girls aired from 1985 to 1992 and presented 4 older women living together in Miami. Betty White, Rue McClanahan, Bea Arthur, and Estelle Getty seemed like genuine friends. Their chemistry was warm and natural. Audiences felt like they were watching real friendship and real love between the characters. This was one of the rare shows where the cast actually did get along. But there was tension. Bea Arthur was private and somewhat distant. Rue McClanahan and Betty White had very different personalities. Estelle Getty was elderly and sometimes difficult. By the later seasons, the set was warm, but it had taken years to establish that. The genuine affection you watched was earned through real professional effort. When the show ended, the cast remained close, but this was unusual. For most sitcoms, the on-screen family was not a genuine family at all. Golden Girls was an exception that proved the rule. 19. The cast of Saved by the Bell Footage Search. https:/www.youtube.com/results search_query *saved +by Bell +cast +conflict +tension +feuding Smart Paul Goslar Samuel. Saved by the Bell aired from 1989 to 1993. The cast of teenagers seemed like genuine friends who actually cared about each other. The chemistry was real. Audiences believed in their friendship. What viewers did not know was that several of the cast members actually did not like each other. Mark Paul Gosselaar and Samuel Screech Powers had a genuine friendship, but other cast members were less connected. By the later seasons, the cast had splintered into groups. The friendship moments, the loyalty between characters, the obvious affection, all of it was performed by actors who had grown to resent each other or feel distant. When the show ended, the cast did not stay in touch the way audiences might have expected. The school community that seemed so warm and genuine was actually a collection of actors with varying degrees of affection for each other. Only years later, when reunions happened, did some cast members publicly acknowledge the tension. 20. The cast of Seinfeld. Seinfeld aired from 1989 to 1998. The show was built on the chemistry between 4 main characters: Jerry Seinfeld, Jason Alexander, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and Wayne Knight seemed like genuine friends. The show presented them as best friends who did everything together. Audiences believed in their friendship. Behind the scenes, the dynamics were more complicated. Jerry Seinfeld was often distant and professional. Jason Alexander felt he was not getting equal attention. Julia Louis-Dreyfus was controlling about her character's direction. Wayne Knight was often left out of decisions. By the later seasons, the set was tense. The obvious affection between the characters, the genuine seeming friendship, all of it was performed by actors who had learned to work together professionally without necessarily becoming genuine friends. When Seinfeld ended in 1998, the cast went their separate ways. Years later, reunions would reveal how distant some had become. The friendship that seemed so central to the show, so genuine and real, had been a performance. The audience had believed in a constructed reality. These 20 casts remind us of something important. What we see on television is a construction. The chemistry between characters is a professional achievement. The family warmth is a performance. This does not mean the shows are less valuable or less meaningful. The greatest television moments still matter even when the actors were not genuine friends. The emotional impact on you, the viewer, was real. Your connection to these characters was real. Your nostalgia is real. But the behind-the-scenes family, the genuine friendship, the obvious affection, that was often an illusion. It was created by writers and directors and the professional skill of actors who learned to work together. Some cast members became friends, many did not. Some grew to respect each other, some never did. The shows endured because they were good, not because the cast was a genuine family. That distinction matters. It does not diminish what you felt watching them, but it explains why, when these shows ended, the cast so often went their separate ways. The family was real only on camera. If you grew up with these shows, if these casts felt like genuine family to you, that feeling is still valid. The impact of television does not require the actors to actually like each other. The connection you felt was real. Your memories are real. Your love for these shows is real. The actors were professionals doing difficult work under intense pressure. Some became friends in the process. Many did not. Both outcomes are understandable. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more behind-the-scenes truths about the television that shaped American culture.